morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. February is Black History Month, the brainchild of the late Dr. Carter G. Woodson. It celebrates the achievements of African Americans and recognizes their central role in American history. To kick off Black History Month, today's show is dedicated to historically Black colleges and universities. There are currently 107 HBCUs in the U.S. Before the Civil War, discrimination against Black students led to the founding of the first Black colleges in the North. They gave Black students the opportunity to obtain higher education when virtually no other colleges would. HBCUs remain relevant, and graduates from HBCUs continue to thrive. Today, we're talking to a number of proud HBCU graduates who are well known in the Milwaukee community. My first guests are Alderwoman Milele Coggs. She attended Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where she graduated cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration and English. We also have Thelma Sias, who is a graduate of Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. She received a BA degree in 1976. She's the founder and president of the Thelma Sias Group, or the Sias Group, which provides political and leadership consulting expertise. And in 2017, she retired from We Energies as the vice president of local affairs after 31 years with the company. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
So happy to have you here with me. And I'm really excited to just talk about your experience at HBCUs and all the things that go along with it. So starting with you, Milele, Fisk University was founded in 1866, and famous alumni include the late W.B. Du Bois, poet Nikki Giovanni, and the late Congressman John Lewis. What, in fact, attracted you to Fisk out of all of the schools that are out there?
My sophomore and junior year of high school at Riverside University High School, they started a Black college tour. So I was able to see 23 different Black colleges over the years. So I knew that I wanted to get my education at an HBCU. We have a family tradition with Fisk. I have several cousins who have graduated from Fisk. And when I became a freshman there in 95, that was the same year that one of my older cousins graduated from Fisk. I had the opportunity to visit, not just on the tours, but also go down over spring break to visit one of my cousins. Spelman, Howard, and Fisk were my final three choices. And I think ultimately, I love the history of Fisk, and I know all HBCUs share a rich history of the alumni. But what it felt like when you were on campus is that you were there not just reading about these great people in history, but kind of figuring out your own way to make your own history, to follow in their footsteps. And I definitely wanted to be a part of that. Plus, Fisk is rather small. At the time, it was less than 800 students there, which was half the size of my high school. And it felt like a family. And I knew that coming from Milwaukee and feeling so, family oriented here, that I needed that in my college matriculation as well. And Fisk had all of those things for me. And then ultimately, they gave me a tuition scholarship, which helped to seal the deal and allow me, combined with my other community scholarships, to be able to pay for my whole education at Fisk. It was the best educational choice I've ever made.
I love that. And Thelma, Atlanta University was founded in 1865. Clark College was founded in 1869, and the two consolidated in 1988 to form Clark Atlanta University. Famous alumni include Kenya Burris. I think everybody's familiar with the show Blackish. There's civil rights activists, the late Ralph Abernathy, and James Weldon Johnson. So I'll ask you the same question. What attracted you to then Clark College?
What attracted me to then Clark College was the fact that my older sister, Liz Shannon, graduated from Clark. She got a scholarship from the National Council of Negro Women. The late Dr. Dorothy Height used to come to my hometown and oftentimes talked about the power of education. So I applied at Clark. My parents believed that when you graduated from high school on Saturday morning, my father was sitting at the end of the table and he asked the big question, what are you going to do? I applied. I was chopping cotton when my aunt and uncle came to tell my parents they had gotten a call from Clark College saying that I had received a presidential scholarship to go to Clark. A young girl from the cotton field of Myersville, Mississippi, had an opportunity to go to the big city of Atlanta, Georgia, and I had the educational experience of a lifetime. I had gone to an all-white middle and high school. It was something powerful about walking on a campus and seeing so many people that looked like me, and walking into a classroom and meeting African American men and women that were PhDs in math, economics, English, and on and on. It was an extraordinary opportunity for me.
Absolutely. And I too am a graduate of an HBCU. I attended Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. It was established in 1887 and was originally located with Wilberforce University, which is right across the street. So a couple of famous people that you may be familiar with, the opera legend, Leontine Price, and then former Motown president Kadar Massenberg as well. So really awesome. And I believe Nancy Wilson, the late Nancy Wilson, she went to Central State for a time, but then she dropped out to go on to take on this pretty amazing career. So I think we all understand that. So several HBCUs achieved new milestones this year. You have Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, who is an alumna of Howard University. She, needless to say, became the first woman and woman of color to be elected Vice President of the United States. There was Spelman College grad Stacey Abrams, who is credited with helping turn Georgia blue in this year's presidential election. And then you have Michael Regan, that's President Joe Biden's pick to lead the EPA. He graduated from North Carolina A&T. And of course, we have to mention Reverend Raphael Warnock of Morehouse College. He became the first Black senator of Georgia. So do you think those recent accomplishments will attract more young people who may not have been thinking of HBCUs to possibly give it some thought?
I'm optimistic that it will. And initiatives like what we have going on in Milwaukee, the MKE Fellows, which is focusing on young African-American males having the opportunity for education. And many of them are going to historical Black colleges. I think the more we value the significance of our education and our own exposure, the better we will be. And the more we can guide our young people into it. Because you must know that as a graduate of a traditional Black college, you are given something that rarely other people get: a reinforcement of who you are, a value added, and a constant pat on the back that you can indeed accomplish all the things you work hard for. You have believers, you have influencers, and you have the people pushing you forward that look like you, think like you, and believe that you should have that opportunity.
I would just add that, too often there are those who, because of their lack of understanding of the great value and rich history of HBCUs, may suggest that an HBCU education is not as valuable as that at a PWI. And I think the recent election of Kamala and so many others is a demonstration of the fact that you can be educated at a HBCU and you can hold your own in any professional realm across this country. So it is my sincere hope that seeing Kamala, seeing Warnock, Senator Warnock, and others does inspire those who may not have ordinarily looked at an HBCU as their, educational option, begin to do so. I know in the 90s, one of the things that influenced a lot of people in my class was A Different World.
Yeah.
Because they saw HBCU in a whole new light. So if you would have asked a lot of my classmates why they chose to go to a school, HBCU, it was because they were influenced to at least research it because of that show. My hope is this past election and the great people who've been elected influences people to at least begin to research, whether HBCU is for them.
Yeah, I remember sitting in some of my high school classes and really just being frustrated that I was hearing the same history that I had heard since kindergarten. And then on top of that, there was A Different World. And most recently, I had a chance to tell Spike Lee how he unknowingly influenced me with the movie School Days. So all those things really do play a role, not to mention even during the Cosby Show. I remember seeing Bill Cosby wear those sweatshirts that had Black colleges. He had on one that said Wilberforce, which made me look up, what is that and where is that? So, I mean, all those things really meant something. So I can't help but think that if movies and TV shows influenced us, then these outstanding people and their accomplishments will definitely influence a whole nother generation.
But the other reality is if we would take the time to reach into family and friends of family and hear the stories, the extraordinary, as you have seen the interviews with many of the vice president's very close friends and Sarah sisters, seeing the power of all of that, the reality that those relationships have been built. I have classmates that I went to school with in Atlanta that are lifetime friends even now. They're influencers all over the world. And the ability for us to keep encouraging our young people to look in the mirror, like who they see, love who they see, and respect who they see, so they can indeed do great things. I spent my college career on a campus where Andy Young, I worked on his campaign for Congress. Maynard Jackson ran for mayor. These were people that we interacted with. You move from what's in the magazine and what's on television to the reality of the people that influence your life. That is a significant opportunity. And we should make certain that our young people understand they can be successful going to a historical Black college. I took classes on Spelman's campus. I walked into my class on Morehouse campus and I met Martin Luther King III, as his official name. So these are people from lifetimes of experiences that have gone on to do extraordinary things. And we must understand the power of ourselves and our own history versus trying to make other people's.
Absolutely. And Milele and I both pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha. So those stories alone, are memories and things that you'll never, ever forget. But with that said, Milele, you went on to University of Wisconsin Law School. So would you say your experience at Fisk was able to prepare you for law school and what you're doing today?
I definitely do. While I was at Fisk, I had the honor to serve in various capacities, but one was Student Government Association president. And at Fisk, the Student Government Association president is a voting member of the Board of Trustees. That sitting amongst multi-millionaires and other illustrious alumni and folks from the community and all over the country. I remember Burgess Colbert, VP, who was a former VP at Miller, sat on the board as well. Cory Booker's mother, Carolyn Booker, who was a Fisk alum as well, sat on the board. So I sat with her. So it's easy for me to walk into meetings with the mayor or with whoever and be able to hold my own, because that's something I was prepared to do in life, but those skills were honed at Fisk. And yeah, I went to Madison Law School and it prepared me extremely well. I think the beauty of historically Black education is any feelings of doubt or inadequacy that you would have, you learn so much about yourself and that pride in yourself and preparation for yourself to take on any of these challenges of the world. So it made walking into that law school and competing, because law school is extremely competitive, that much easier for me because of the foundation laid at Fisk.
I love that. And I totally agree with you. I was on WCSU radio at Central State my entire 4 years, went there day one, like, here's my air check, let's do this. And at our convocations, introducing people like Walter Fauntroy and all these outstanding people who have made a difference in the history of our people. So I understand what you're saying. So what we're doing today, it's kind of like we've been here and done this a million times over. So truly, I appreciate both of you coming on and sharing your experiences with us today. It gives me chill bumps, and I thank you so much. Alderwoman Milele Coggs, she's an alumna of Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, and Thelma Sias is an alumna of what is now Clark Atlanta University. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll meet more proud graduates of historically Black colleges and universities, and we'll do that right after this.